So here's my view as I'm recording this video tonight for you on reflections. We'll look into the pool, see if we can find a reflection of the lights out of the pool. Okay, maybe not. Alright, let's get ourselves into the lesson. Wonderful introduction. Today we've got reflections that we're gonna do. You're going to want to take notes on this because we're going to give you several things and formulas down here of how you reflect across the x-axis, y-axis. I'm going to let you use notes on your assessment for this. I'm not going to have them put on the board, but if you want to use your notes, I'll let you use your notes for this assessment. So honestly, I don't even remember these. The x and the y, okay, I do remember them, but they're hard to remember. So if you've got them in your notebooks, you'll be able to use them. So what's a reflection in geometry? A reflection is a transformation where the shape is flipped across a line called the line of reflection, or call it a line of symmetry. It's kind of the same thing. Creating a mirror image of the original shape with each point on the reflected image being the same distance from the line of reflection as the corresponding point, blah, 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 of the original site. So this all depends on where our original site is for our line of reflection. A lot of times what you'll hear things being reflected across either the x-axis or the y-axis. So just remember here, this is our x-axis, this is our y-axis, and we can reflect that image across both of those. And essentially what it means when we're reflecting something is it means that any point on this, if I take this point, it's that far from the x-axis. So that means it's going to be that far across that x-axis right there. So this point is that distance. It's going to be then that equidistance on the other side. And this is that far. Okay, so I don't know, it's about that far. So here's what our reflected image is going to look like over the x-axis. If we're going to do it over the y-axis, then we're going to go this far, and then we're going to go this far, and we're going to say it's right there. We're going to go this far, and then we're going to go this far, and it's right there. And then we're going to go this far, and then we're going to go this far, and it's like right there. So there's the reflected image of that across the y-axis. We can reflect it about anything. We can reflect it across x, we can reflect it about y. Another one that comes in common is we reflect it along the line x equals y. So reflect it along kind of this blue line here, and that's the line x equals y. And we can do the same thing, and I don't have enough space to do it, but you can see how I can draw those distances. And then if I draw those distances across to the other side, and it's kind of there, it's kind of way out there, and it's kind of way out there. But I could do those things, and I could reflect those things across the x equals y axes as well. So these are kind of our three definitions that we need you to get into your notes. If you're going to reflect, and these are easy to do as long as you know the original coordinates. So if we're reflecting across the x-axis, and again, this green is the x-axis. If we're reflecting across the x-axis, if our original point is xy, our reflection is x negative y. And I think you can see that. You know, if we're reflecting it across there, our y is going from positive to negative. The x value is not changing. Okay? That's the first one. If we're reflecting across the line of the y-axis, that's this blue line right here. If we're doing that, our reflection is, if our original is xy, our reflection is negative xy. And again, I think you can kind of see that. And that's kind of this part right here. Our x value is what's going from, in this case, from negative to positive. And our y value up and down is staying exactly the same. And then the last one is kind of this pink one. Now I'm highlighted in pink, and I kind of erased it already, but it was this blue line that I had earlier right there. That's a reflection across the line y equals x. And when we do that, our x and our y value, they just change. No sign changes, What was x becomes y, and what y becomes x. So again, make sure you have these things in your notes for reflections. If you have them in your notes for reflections, you can just go ahead and use them. So think about it as kind of that reflection in a mirror. Everything's kind of turned around. If you think you're combing your left-hand side in the mirror, it almost looks like, if you're combing your left-hand side, it almost looks like it's that right-hand side of the mirror. It's kind of the opposite thing going on when you're doing that. So let's look at a couple of examples. All right, so here's our first example. We're given 3 points. A is at 4, 4. So remember, this means 4 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 up. So we're going to put point A right there. That's where point A is. Point B is at 3, negative 1, so over 3, down 1. So B is right here. And C is at negative 1, negative 2. I'm sorry, 1, negative 2. So 1, negative 2, which is right there. If we wanted to draw this figure is going to look just like this. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and take this and reflex it across the x-axis. Okay, so our x-axis, we highlighted it in green. This is our x-axis. So remember what it means to reflect across the x-axis. It essentially means that this distance here is going to be equal to this distance here. So that's where my new point's going to be. I went 2 up. I went 2 up. I go 1 up. I go 1 up. That's my new B value. My A value was up on top, but that's okay. Now I just have to go down to the x-axis, and I went down 4. And I have to go down 4, and that's my new A value. Now, how do we name these? Well, in this case, ABC was kind of my original image. So my new image, we're just going to call this point C prime, this point B prime, and this point A prime. Okay, it's image and pre-image. If we wanted to name them, okay, our original was 4, 4 for A. So our reflected, our x stayed exactly the same. So our x stays the same. I don't know why I put an x there. My x was 4. So that was 4. And then my y value, it's the negative of whatever it started out with. Or the opposite of what it started out with. B is at 3, negative 1. My x value stays the same. My y value goes to the opposite. My C value, call C prime. My x value remains the same. My y value goes to the opposite. So there it is. So that's the reflection across the x-axis. Okay, let's take this same point. 4, 4, there's A. 3, negative 1, there's B. And 1, negative 2, there's C. But now we're going to reflect it across the y-axis. So at the y-axis, we highlighted that in kind of blue before, so there's the blue. So again, remember what it means. I'm going 1. I go to that y-axis, and I got to go another one there, so we'll call that C prime. B is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There's B prime. A is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my A prime. But again, you can decide how you want to do it. If you want to go ahead and draw it, you can certainly do that. But you don't even really need to do that. My A is at 4, 4. So when I'm crossing my y-axis, my y value is staying the same, but my x value is going to the opposite. So my A prime is negative 4, 4. My B prime, my x is going to be negative 3. My y value stays the same, negative 1. C value going to be negative 1, negative 2. And that's the reflection across the y-axis. The third example, we're going to take those 3 points. We're still doing 4, 4. There's A. 3, negative 1. There's B. And 1, negative 2. There's C. But now we're going to reflect across the y equals x. So y equals x, I don't think, maybe it was pink. y equals x is kind of this line right here. Right? If I draw it a little bit better, let's draw it with an actual line. It's kind of this blue line right here. And again, we can think about it as it's gone here, here, and here. And that's a little bit more difficult to do. So instead, I'm just going to go ahead and do a prime. And when we do these, all we do is switch the x and the y. So in this case, it still says 4, 4. I drew it bad because that line is going to be right on that graph. If I actually drew this correctly, that's right on the line. My b prime, just going to switch it around to negative 1, 3. And my c prime, just going to switch it around to negative 2, 1. So if I graph those, there's a and a prime. B is at negative 1, 3. So there's my b prime. And c is at negative 2, 1. Which is right there. And there is my graph reflected over the line y equals x. Okay. So there's the first type of question you're going to have today. Second type of question you're going to have today is you're actually going to be given the graph. And then you're going to be asked to reflect it over the x-axis. You're going to ask to reflect it over the y-axis. And the last one then, obviously, we're going to be asked to reflect, nice handwriting by the way, over y equals x. And really, so all I'm going to do, really, I'm just going to go on this first one. I'm just going to list my original a value. My original a value is 1, 2, 3, down 2. So my a value is at negative 3, 2. My b value is at negative 3, 0. And my c value is at negative 1. So if we reflect it across the x-axis, okay, means I'm going up 2, it's going to go right there. My b is going to be there. My c is going to be there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. My d is going to be there. So my a prime, so remember when you're doing the x-axis, the y value goes to the opposite. So that's negative 3, 2. My b prime value is going to be negative 3, 0. It's not doing anything. My c prime value is going to be negative 1, 1. Okay? If we reflect it across the y-axis, again, our a values aren't going to change. They're the same graph that we had before. B is at negative 3, 0. And c is at negative 1, negative 1. But now we're going across the y-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2. There's my new graph. Remember when it's over the y-axis, your x value goes to the opposite, your y value changes the same. So there are our points for a prime, b prime, and c prime. And then if we reflect it across, and this is the hard one to kind of draw because I'm not a very accurate drawer. But again, we still know our a values are negative 3, negative 2. B is at negative 3, 0. And c is at negative 1, negative 1. Now we're going to reflect it across that line, and we can still do this. Okay? But it's a little bit harder to see exactly what these points are going to do. So when we do our a prime, it's just going to be negative 2, negative 3. Your your x value and your y value just switch. So this is going to be 0, negative 3. And your c prime is going to still be negative 1, negative 1. And I don't know why I moved that one. Shouldn't have moved that one. There it is. Okay. So what you need to get into your notes. Make sure that this is in your notes. how you go about doing those different reflections and how you get those things. Okay, so there's reflections. You've had your assignments today. There's 2 parts to your assignment today. Make sure you do both parts. First part is definitions part and a couple of examples. And then you have the rest of the time to do the rest of it. Tomorrow we're going to talk about what we call translations. Hope everybody has a great day.